And I would like to welcome to the stage our final speaker, Brianna Streeter, who is going to be presenting Creating Value Through Self-Belief in the Writing Center. So everybody, welcome Brianna to the stage.
I'm going to lower this to the lowest possible. Okay. Hello. I don't have any fancy PowerPoints, so just try to bear with me talking and try not to fall asleep. So this is not my capstone. If you want to ask about that, then please ask me individually. Today I'm going to be talking about a topic that actually some of the Writing Center Fellows from Soka presented at the recent Writing Center Tutors Conference for Southern California back in February, which is looking at self-belief in the Writing Center. And just before we get started, this is not all my work. We worked together with Caroline, Harrison, Janice, and Malin. All contributed. I'm just the voice right now, but we all kind of worked on this together. So first of all, I want to ask, how many people have actually been to the Writing Center? Hey, everyone! How many people have been there, like, more than the mandatory evaluation? Okay. There's still a lot, that's good, yay. So I just want everyone to kind of shout out, what do you think the Writing Center is for? What do you go there for?
Couches.
Couches? That's good. Candy. Brandon is great, yeah. Puppies. Encouragement, that's a good one. Yeah.
Creating value.
There we go. Scrabble, every Sunday. So, as you can see, the Writing Center is not just for writing. So what I want to kind of talk about today, going off of that, is try to reframe students' idea of the Writing Center by dispelling some common myths that we have about the Writing Center on our campus. So the first myth I want to go over is, I'm a domestic student, I don't need to go to the Writing Center because I speak English, or I know English. So, while people may not say it like that, there's this kind of mentality where, like, a lot of people, you see most of the students that go to the Writing Center are international students, because there's this common myth that if you're a domestic student, your writing is already fairly good enough because you have a grasp of the language. That's not entirely true, and actually, even though, like, there are things maybe that international students go to the Writing Center to work on more than, say, domestic students, like grammar issues and stuff like that. That doesn't mean that there's no issues with writing if you're a domestic student. There's just different things that we can work on. And there was actually a study, I think, that Seiji and Dr. Williams did, I think a couple years ago, where they actually found that, like, because international students go to the Writing Center more, a lot of their writing scores actually turned out better than the domestic students that didn't go. So really, it doesn't really matter if you have domestic or international student status. The Writing Center can be used in different ways to improve different aspects of your writing. And that leads me to my second point, where it's all about the grammar. So I usually like to start my appointments with, what do you want to work on today? Is there anything in particular you want to focus on? And the answer is almost always grammar. Here's my paper. Fix it. Fix everything. So while grammar is important for good writing, like obviously, especially with like formal writing and like APA, MLA papers, those sort of like research papers, the Writing Center, we try to reframe it as not just a place that is seen as an editing service. We try to promote ourselves as a service where, like, you're supposed to guide students to answer their own questions and to learn how to self-revise. So in that sense, it's just like any other facility at Soka, where you use it to just kind of learn things about yourself, and it's a two-way learning process. Like, the tutors are learning just as much about their tutoring and their writing from you as you are from them. So that's one thing. Okay, so the third myth is that going to the Writing Center means there's something wrong with my writing. There's this kind of, oh, the Writing Center, if my professor tells me to go to the Writing Center, something is wrong. My paper is really, really bad, my writing is terrible. And there's this fear of going to the Writing Center that really shouldn't be there because students tend to approach the Writing Center as something remedial. And that was mainly what our conference panel was about, where instead of seeing the Writing Center as remedial, we tried to promote it as a place to develop self-belief and value creation in the writing process, because a lot of current students' writing process is surrounded by this idea of self-doubt. And as we were researching, we were actually looking at research into Writing Center pedagogy and stuff like that, we found that there's two main ways to view this idea of self-belief and self-efficacy, which are outcome expectations versus efficacy expectations. So with outcome expectations, it's a belief that a particular action will lead to a desired outcome. If I take this paper to the Writing Center and get it revised, I will get an A. So it's like you take the action and you get the result immediately. Whereas efficacy expectations is the belief that you're actually capable of performing those actions successfully to achieve bigger goals. So there's this difference between visiting the Writing Center to get the good grade versus the belief that you are actually good at writing. So the tendency for a lot of students, not just at Soka, but at other college campuses around the United States, is that even though they're going to the Writing Center and getting the outcome expectation, getting the good grades, they still feel like their writing is bad and that they're not good writers. So we as tutors wanted to try to reframe that and try to change that to inspire and think about how can we help students develop their own self-belief, not just in the writing abilities, but just in themselves. Because the grades are important, but I think that improving self-belief and self-efficacy and just developing in this confidence in yourself is really more beneficial, and there have actually been studies that find there's a positive correlation between good writing and self-confidence and self-belief. So that leads me to my fourth myth, where people believe my writing sucks. And I write a paper, and the last hour that it's due, and it doesn't produce a good result. My writing is terrible. I have no hope. Brianna, why do you produce such good papers? No, I don't. I really don't. At least not in the first try, because writing is a process of revisions. And a lot of times what you see in publications and research articles and things like that is the finished result. You don't see all the drafting and multiple revisions and editing that goes behind it. So when students see other people's academic work as the finished result, they have this already really high expectation that they feel like they can't meet. And that's where the self-doubt comes in their abilities. So then we say, okay, then you need to go through the revision process, and your writing's obviously not going to turn out perfect on the first try. Let's just keep drafting and keep going through it and seeing what we can improve on. But then when students are asked to critique or revise something, our default mindset is to view it from a negative side and see what are all the mistakes. Only focus on the negative aspects. And it is important to focus on the mistakes to see where we need to improve or what we need to correct, but it is detrimental to our self-belief, because then that becomes all we think about, and if that happens, then our critical voice becomes stronger than the creative one. The self-doubt overshadows the self-belief, and we can't really develop this confidence in ourselves. So we want to shift the focus from the negative to the positive and try to reframe our thinking as in, how can I use my strengths and what I'm good at with writing to enhance my abilities, rather than where are all the mistakes and how do I quick fix them. And there's no really set answer at this point too, where as tutors we're trying to figure that out, as students, as individuals we're trying to figure that out. And this applies not just to writing, but just to anything we do in life. We're focusing with this really negative default mindset, then how can we give ourselves room to improve? It's an ongoing process, but we just wanted to maybe make people aware of that and see if we can encourage both ourselves as tutors and students and inspire other students to shift that focus and reframe the way we think of critique and writing in general. Yeah. Is there any questions?
So when's the writing center open?
From 9 to 7, Monday through Friday and Sunday.
What is this requirement thing? It didn't exist when I was a student.
Which one? Oh, when, yeah, you bring in like a sample of your writing from your core class before fall semester starts. I don't know if do they still do that? Did they do that for you guys? Maybe they took away the requirement. It was around when 2016 was an anniversary.
They should keep that in there. Just so they have the experience of going in one,
Mhm.
right? And then from the other areas, there's self-space and people. I would imagine that's beneficial.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.